everyone, it's Sharon Cowan here. I am President and CEO of Cleaning Business Consulting Group, and I've been in the industry for about 35 years, probably before many of you were even born. Yikes, it's a long time. I've seen a lot of changes. Have I made mistakes along the way? Absolutely. Have I lost money on accounts along the way? For sure, like we all have. But what I'd like to talk to you today about are 3 ways that you can prevent disastrous losses when you're adding commercial cleaning to your residential business. So let's take a look at what those 3 pillars are. The important keys are pricing, people, and retention. When you make mistakes in these areas, you are effectively killing the profit in your commercial cleaning division. A lot of the same information will apply to your residential division. But for today, we're talking specifically about how to add profitable cleaning, commercial cleaning to your business. So let's take a look. Some of the strategies that we're going to talk about today are the pricing. And the pricing is really the foundation of your profit. Without the accurate pricing, it's going to be hard for you to really make money in this division. And then the people, they're your greatest asset, right? People are actually more important than our customers in many cases. So this is an area that is of particular concern because great people are increasingly difficult to find. But I'm convinced that they're out there, and we need to have some strategies for attracting and keeping them. And then we talk about retention. Okay, without keeping our clients and our staff, which is the winning combination, we don't have a business. So it's important to keep those profitable clients and those loyal, hardworking staff members working together to bring a success to your commercial cleaning division. And then I'm going to touch on a few what I call profit killers and how we plug the leaks that can slowly do a drip, drip, drip of your profits and cause you to lose money. Sometimes they're right in front of your face. So let's jump in and take a look. The first piece of the puzzle that we're going to attack today is the pricing. And I am a huge proponent of knowing your numbers. It's so important that you have a good handle on where you are financially, where the financial health of your business is. Are you making money? Where are you making money? What's costing you money? Where are you losing? What do your expenses look like? All of these things are paramount to your success, and even more so when you're adding another division to your company. So we first take a look at the productivity and the scope. Those 2 things are very simple, but they're keys to pricing effectively. So productivity is how fast your cleaners move. Scope is what you want them, what they are expected to do. What is it that your customer wants you to do, and how fast can you do it? The productivity rate in commercial cleaning is about 3 to 4 times faster and higher than that of residential cleaning. We'll get into a little more of that in a minute, but the productivity rates are different. And you don't really want to price your commercial cleaning jobs the same as you do detailed residential cleaning. You will outbid yourself every time and not close many accounts if you do that. That said, there are some residential cleaning companies that just want to add a few offices here and there, and that's fine. They will price them the same and they will get them. They are not looking to grow a big division of their company. But if you are, then it's important to wrap your head around the fact that commercial cleaning is faster overall than residential. I always recommend that you separate your divisions. So when you add a commercial division, that you run separate numbers and a separate P&L on that from your residential. What happens when you put them all in one pot is you don't have any idea where you're making money, where you're losing money, where do you need to tighten up, how is your labor in this division versus the other division. You're really operating with blinders on. So initially, at first, I really recommend that you run a separate P&L for your commercial division. You can talk to your accountant about that, and your accountant can help you get that set up. It's a little more bookkeeping on the front end, but you're going to get much more accurate reporting if you do that. One of the other things I like to warn about is a race to the bottom to win bids. You don't necessarily want to be the lowest guy in town. And just FYI, there will always be someone cheaper than you around the corner. So it is in your best interest to price and estimate profitably for your company. Even if that makes you a little higher, still competitive, but you may be on the higher side, and that's okay. But we never win when we are in the race to the bottom. So be careful of that, because it's very tempting just to get the numbers on the board. And then understanding industry pricing formulas. Okay, there are two main ways to price jobs. One is cents per square foot, and the other is by the hour. The cents per square foot applies only to 5-night-a-week accounts. So many times when I'm scrolling through Facebook, I see people asking how many cents per square foot should I charge for this job? It's 2 nights a week. Well, that formula absolutely does not work unless you are pricing a 5-night-a-week job. In addition, pricing by cents per square foot doesn't give you any idea of how many hours you're going to need, and even if your labor is even covered in the job, because you need to know going in what your labor cost is before you can attach a price to the job. The other way to price is by the hour, and that is the most common and the simplest, and it gives you the truer actual profit and loss number. Okay, so that is tied in, obviously, to your productivity and how many hours it will take to do the job, and then an hourly rate is applied to that number. The hourly rate in commercial can be somewhat lower than in the residential. Not always. And again, it depends on your goals for your company and what you want that division to look like. Again, if you're just going to do a few commercial jobs here and there, you're not looking to create a new division, pricing it as you do for your residential may work in certain cases. When you're in the competitive arena, and you have many other commercial companies bidding as well, if you keep your prices as typically high as residential, you will not win many accounts. But then that again is a decision that you have to make about where you're going with your division. Some strategies for pricing right. Okay. We always do a walkthrough of the building. We never quote over the phone. Few reasons for the walkthrough of the building. One is to begin the relationship building with that customer, and the other is to get the accurate documentary information that you need to come up with a number. So on that walkthrough, one of the things you will do is find the pain point of the customer. Really talk with them about what's bothering them the most about their current company. Is it that the toilet paper dispensers aren't refilled every night? The waste baskets are missed. People are bringing children to the job. I mean, those are some of the most common ones we hear. But get to the pain point. And when you do that, you will address that in your customized scope of work. That's why using a template that has a scope already put together doesn't necessarily work. It isn't the greatest approach you can have to it. The scope should be customized, and you want to infiltrate those pain points into your text, in your scope. And then you will set the price according to what the scope is. You want to set a minimum frequency for taking on jobs. Early on in my business, I took once a month commercial jobs, and it's just like once a month residential jobs. They really are a pain when you come right down to it. They brought in some revenue, and that's great, and they could be very profitable. They always have to be treated like an initial clean. I quickly dropped those and went to once a week minimum. Later on, business was good and we're really cranking along. I dropped the once a week and did a 2 time a week minimum. And that worked for many years. That served us well. You have to test that in your market. I would say once a week minimum is the best to start with. And see how it goes. I certainly would not do anything less than that. That would be the minimum, in my opinion, that you should set. We talked about productivity levels and how they are greater, faster rate of cleaning than in residential business. The benchmark in the industry today, is about 2,500 square feet to about 3,500 square feet an hour per cleaner. And there are many variables in this. For example, what activities go on in that space, the frequency of the cleaning, if it's wide open spaces or if it's very dense in employee population. So a lot of things have to be looked at to determine them. If it's a medical facility, for example, 2,500 square feet may be too fast because there is a lot of detail required in a medical facility. So you might be closer to 1,500, 2,000 square feet. To compare, in residential, we look at 800 to 1,000 square feet as a benchmark. Some companies faster, some slower. One-time cleans, a little slower. Initial cleans are certainly slower. So, but that is the benchmark that we use. You want to test your hourly pricing rate in your marketplace. Again, if you are putting out a lot of proposals and getting a lot of turn downs and no's from prospects, feel free to ask. It's very common to ask the question, what could we have done to win your business? Or would you be willing to share with me where we're not awarded this contract? Don't hesitate to ask. Just as the same way during the walkthrough, it's perfectly acceptable for you to ask what the budget is. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they'll say it's none of your business, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Just as it doesn't hurt to ask why you were not awarded a contract. And that's going to help you determine if you're outpricing yourself in the market or if you're right in the middle where you should be. Next, after pricing, we want to talk about people. Oh my gosh, what a topic. I mean, people. It has changed somewhat since I owned my business, but not a lot. The people were the main issue back then, just as they are now. Finding the good ones, hiring them right and not fast, those are going to be your keys to success. We want to take a look, of course, as you do in residential cleaning, to the attitude and the work experience. Those are two really important pieces when it comes to hiring. And I know we've all been through the trauma of running an ad and getting 20 people to apply and getting 5 to show up for interviews. And of those are schedule interviews. And of those 5, you might get 2, 1 or none may be what you get from it. So I understand the problem. It's ongoing. You have to keep working at it, refining your ads. One of the beauties of commercial cleaning is that the jobs are typically part-time. They're usually in the evening. And so you need an evening crew and you need someone in the evening to supervise them and manage them. The most successful people that I have ever found over the years to work in janitorial, unless you have a huge skyscraper where you require 5 8-hour people, that's a different scenario. But for typical route cleaning and janitorial, part-timers who have a daytime job work the best. They're typically dependable. They have a good work history that you can identify. They're looking for extra income. They most usually show up, and they just do the job, and they go home after that. They need, just like the daytime people, they need structured onboarding, orientation, and training. I have seen it time and time again. When any of those 3 weak areas is weak and not structured and verified in your company, it leads to problems. So getting them off on the right start, getting them off on the right foot with the right training and the orientation is paramount to your success in any cleaning, but particularly the nighttime cleaning, because they are alone a good part of the time. You want to hire experienced janitorial employees if you can find them. I have never found in all these years, with very few exceptions, so I can't say never, that residential cleaners work out well in a janitorial cleaning environment. Residential cleaners are trained specifically to be very detail-oriented. That's part of their nature and part of their skill. And they enjoy the detail. They like it. To make the transition to the commercial arena where detail is not required and it's typically not paid for by the customer, we find a very difficult experience to make the crossover from residential to commercial. They can't quite somehow take the residential hat off and put the commercial hat on. It's just too different in most cases. To get them to go from 800 square feet an hour in the day, and now 5 o'clock comes and now they're going to clean at 2,000 square feet, rarely happens. So be careful of that. And in the beginning, you might use that scenario. You might find that it works for you, maybe 6 months. But once you get going and you start staffing your nighttime accounts, be very careful of that, which is a very easy solution for you, but rarely works. So keeping those employees, once we find those good employees, and I know that most of you have heard this drilled in, taking care of the employee and retaining them because they're so hard to get. The commercial employee is not any different. You want to have checklists. You want to have a scope of work that they are trained on, clear expectations of what you expect from them, audits of their work, inspections of their work, and KPIs for them to achieve are really important. Too many times we think it's janitorial, it's night, it's not a big deal. We hand them a mop and a bucket and we say, let's go clean, just clean this building. And that unfortunately still happens today. I have seen it and heard it in recent years. So treat them with the same care and concern that you do your daytime residentials. Give them the same advantages and tools to succeed. You want to recognize and reward their performance, okay? Give them feedback on a regular basis. I used to have my supervisors at night, they were sure to call on everybody at least once a week during the week, a pat on the back, and attaboy, you're doing great. We get great comments about your buildings. And oh, by the way, here's a $20 gift card for gas. Something simple like that, but rewards that will help them feel appreciated. One of the things that's different about the part-time employees, and this kind of jumps over to the last bullet on this page, we'll go back to the third one, but they typically are working when no one is in the office and no one is around. They don't typically get to participate in company functions, in birthdays, in anniversaries, in Pizza Friday. They are usually coming to work when everyone else is going home. So it's really important that you give them the recognition and the attaboys and really make them feel engaged and part of your company. Otherwise, you'll lose them. And I always want to involve all staff, everyone, in either one-on-one meetings or group meetings where you use the KISS strategy. And it's not the keep it simple, stupid strategy. It's not that one. It's another one that I have used successfully with my clients, and they have implemented and find it very helpful. And the K involves, and this whole process involves feedback from your management staff and your cleaning technicians as well. Listen to what they say. Do it either in one-on-one meetings with them or in small group meetings with them. And the KISS stands for, what are we doing as company that we want to keep doing? Okay, that's the K. What are we going to keep doing? It's working. We're happy with this process. Let's keep on doing it. The A stands for improvement. What do we want to improve? What processes do we have that are maybe weak, that aren't giving us the result that we want, and something that we need to look at in terms of improvement? The first S stands for stop. What do we need to stop doing? We are doing this. We are spending our time spinning our wheels. We're not getting a result. Let's stop doing this. Again, get their feedback and their input. And then the final S says, what should we start doing? What would you like to see us do as a company that will help you do your job better and be more successful? So what can we stop doing? So it's the KISS method of meetings and engagements with employees. Whether they're residential or commercial, they all seem to benefit from this strategy. So it's something you can think about implementing. Then the client retention. Okay, we talked about the staff and the client retention being the sweet spot. And that's really when things are clicking and things are really going. So for your customers, what they want, your commercial customer wants consistency. They want to know that it's going to be the same every time. And when you prove to them that you are on target with your training and the consistency that you are putting into the service you deliver to them, the trust will build. And so part of that trust comes from seeing you every month. You should always check in every month minimum with your contact at every building. Whoever it is that hired you is the person that you want to talk to, because it's their opinion that matters about how you're doing. You should never ask how they are doing. You should know the building so well that you know how they're doing. In other words, if you get a cancellation from a customer, that should never come as a surprise. You should always have it in your gut and know that's coming, because things aren't going right and we can't seem to get it right for some reason. So those monthly check-ins are critical. And if your contact doesn't have time to walk the building with you, that's fine. At least pop into their office, wave, say, I'm here. Is there anything I need to know about? Anything coming up? Anything special you want done? I'm going to take a look around myself and write up my report, which I'll send you. So you just want to make sure they know you are overseeing their property and you're taking care and concern. And then you want to deliver more than expected. Do the little extra things for them, like those monthly check-ins, like dropping off a report, like getting a customer portal. That if you don't have a customer portal on your website, you really need to consider having that initiated, because for customers to be able to reach you quickly that way, a lot of them have the owner's private cell phone, and that's fine too. But a portal is really something that you should consider putting on your website if you don't have it. And then we want to take a look at the profit killers. Wow, we've talked about people, we've talked about pricing. Let's look at profit killers. What are the little leaks that drip, drip, drip every month and destroy your P&L? That's what you want to drill down on. That's what you want to find out and put the stop in. And that's why your numbers play such a huge role in the success of your company. And monitoring those numbers every week it's just something you have to do. One of the key items for profit leaks is scope creep. And we get scope creep in commercial just as much as you do in residential. The customer said, "Oh, would you mind doing this when you come every time? Oh, would you mind adding this on? And oh, could you clean out the refrigerator on Fridays? Could you wipe out all the trash bins once a month?" And none of that is on your scope of work. And so none of that was anything that you ever priced. Now, there are occasions when you can do giving back, doing something extra that we talked about, fine. But when it comes to time, things that take time, and you are paying labor to do these things on a regular basis, and you're not being compensated for it, that is scope creep. And that will destroy your profit pretty quickly because your labor costs will become uncontrollable and out of whack. The other piece of this is you want to control and monitor your supply costs and your waste of supplies. Do your employees go glug, 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 glug? Are they mixing concentrates with water themselves? Or are you handling that, or someone in your office where you mix it according to the directions? Okay. Are you supplying consumables in an account where all of a sudden your toilet paper cost is skyrocketing? Okay. Because believe it or not, toilet paper still walks out of buildings in purses and tote bags and briefcases. We had a lot of that during COVID, but it continues. It happened before COVID and it's happened after COVID. So COVID was just a little more intense. So be careful, monitor your waste. Your supply chain management is really important to stop those profit leaks. Using technology is another important piece when it comes to saving money and plugging the leaks. Time tracking software, so important. GPS software is so important. And all the various apps that you can participate in and get involved in today are amazing. I wish we would have had it 20 years ago. But so much of this is there to shore up your profit, shore up the leaks, and increase your profit. So those are some of the areas you want to look at. And then finally, the profit fillers. What can you do to add to your commercial cleaning revenue streams? Okay. We always want to upsell consumables if possible. If they say, "Oh, well, we go to Sam's and we get them," or we go to Costco and we get our things, they have to pay a person to do that. Why shouldn't it be you? You're the one-stop shop for them. So upselling that, where you buy it at a wholesale price and you mark it up 10 to 15% for warehousing, delivery, management of that product, it becomes a profit margin, a profit maker for you. So it's something to think about if you're not. And always, if you're supplying consumables, make sure you're invoicing for those consumables separately from your total contract price. Okay, you don't want to include consumables in your cleaning. You can provide them, but it needs to be based on exactly what your customer is using, not on a guess. Because I guarantee you that toilet paper is leaving the building. and you will be the one paying for it. So be sure you charge them based on their use. Preventative equipment and maintenance to add revenue streams. You can always volunteer if your customers have vacuums they want you to use or other equipment that you maintain that for them. And then outsourcing when it's cost effective. You want to build partnerships with window cleaners, with floor cleaners, with carpet cleaners, all of those people where you can add on those services. And in commercial cleaning, it's expected that you offer those. And then you obviously mark that service up and you recognize another profit center. So, these are a couple of ways that you can add to your commercial division. So in wrapping up, my final thought for you is profit isn't found in the sale. It's how you price smart, how you hire right, and how you train well, and ultimately plug the leaks to be more profitable. The business of selling commercial isn't about selling more commercial work. It's about keeping more of what you already have. And that applies to residential too. Retention, 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 people, and pricing. Thanks so much for attending the presentation. I hope you got some useful tips and things you can use when you are adding commercial cleaning to your residential business. As always, I'm available to answer your questions. My website actually has a form on it where you can ask a question, and I will answer it as quickly and as I can. Reach out to me if I can be of any help. And thank you for attending. The audiences at Zen Made Summit are always spectacular. Thanks and have a great day.